California's calling? I'll be there right away. Is there a beautiful woman? I have to find me one to show me how to ride the ultimate wave. California, never mind, I'm busy. I'll see you later, California. Happy 4th of July, everybody. And what better way to celebrate America than with a look at America's band, the Beach Boys. But not just any old Beach Boys things. Today we're going to wrap up our look at the unofficial live albums by taking a peek at the two 4th of July CDs. Both from the 1980s, both of which were free concerts that the Beach Boys put on in major cities. And we'll also look at the unusual LP that is official that accompanies them. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk the Beach Boys in 1980. 1980 was not an especially kind year for them. The LP, Keeping the Summer Alive, a very mixed bag of tracks dating from different sessions in different years. Production changed hands several times. The whole thing seems pretty chaotic, as indicated in Endless Summer Quarterly magazine. They did an issue on the 40th anniversary. And no major hit singles from this either. Beach Boys fans will know you can get a concert that, officially get a concert, called Live at Nebworth. This came out in 2002, and this is from the tour to promote that album. They do several songs that were brand new. The DVD and CD I just showed you, these are abridged versions. They don't have all the new tunes, but if you look at the complete set list, you can definitely see that. But Keeping the Summer Alive was, I guess, such a commercial dud that it didn't take long before they kind of stopped doing those live. I mention this because the first album we're going to talk about today, Independence Day Party 1981, live at the Mall, Washington, D.C., 4th of July, 1981, is very much a trip down nostalgia lane. There is only one song on here that was from the LP that just came out the previous year, Keeping the Summer Alive, and that's actually a cover of Chuck Berry's School Days, which dates back to the 1950s, so it's a new old song, if you will. Now, this one here does not feature Carl Wilson, at least not that I could ascertain anyway. So that's kind of unusual. Brian Wilson is kind of pushed into the limelight a little bit. He sings on Surfer Girl, he does God Only Knows. He doesn't sound great, but it's interesting to hear him do these songs again, and he's very much a part of the group, and he's very much vocal on the album. In addition to very few new tracks, like brand new tracks from 1980, there is only one from the late 70s, and that's Al Jardine's magnum opus, Lady Linda, which was a huge hit in Europe but never really caught on in the United States, unfortunately. It's a beautiful song. He does that live. Other than that, this is almost all covers, ones like Rock and Roll Music, which were a little bit newer, and ones that go back to the beginning, you know, the surfing songs, the car songs, stuff from Pet Sounds and Good Vibrations and whatnot, but very little, even from the 70s. In fact, probably the highlight of the album is one of the few 70s tracks, Sail on Sailor, which is performed by Bobby Figueroa, who has toured with them for many, many years. And it's really nice. He dedicates it to all of the veterans present, which is a very kind thing to do. And I like that a lot. This is often cited as one of the worst live performances of the Beach Boys on like fan forums and YouTube comments and things like that. I don't know that it's that bad. The big drawbacks here are the medleys. They do car medleys and surf medleys. They are so rushed and so hurried, and they come off as pretty sour, you know. It's this She's Rough on 49, shut down, Little Deuce, okay, we're done. And it's like, no, that's not how you do it. You know, those are classic songs. You need to do them right. But they're so hurried. Indeed, the track list actually lists several of them together, like two songs under one sort of track heading, or like one MP3 file if you were copying this CD to your computer or your phone. So that's kind of a drawback. And the opening to Catch a Wave is probably the most sour the Beach Boys ever sang. I mean, they try to jump really fast from Surfin' to Surfin' Safari to Catch a Wave, and they do not sound good at all. I will say the audience is into it. The Beach Boys themselves seem at least pretty into it. Michael Love is surprisingly subdued. He makes a big deal about Long Tall Texan being their big country song, which is kind of odd because, I mean, cotton fields, California Saga, even their new song Living with a Heartache are all very country. We get a very small booklet. At least it's custom written for this release. It's not just like quoting an article or anything like that. It claims Carl Wilson was involved, but I can't find him on here. If he is, he wasn't doing much. I think he was probably out promoting his new work, because his first solo album, Carl Wilson, was either just coming out or just on the horizon. Today best remembered for the song Heaven. Kind of a generic album. I like his second one, Youngblood, much better than I like that one. Maybe the most unusual track on here is near the finale. Fun, 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 of course, is the actual finale, but back in the USSR, done live by the Beach Boys. Mike Love prefaces the song by telling how he was involved in its writing. His story has evolved over time from him inspiring John Lennon and Paul McCartney to him writing the chorus to him writing larger chunks of the song and actually collaborating with those two Beatles and so on. I don't know. It's Mike Love. I've met Mike Love, kind of a strange guy, so hard to say what happened. But he is really good in this though, and I think he sings it pretty well. He's back up. So it's an interesting thing there. Again, it gets a bad rap. You can hear the whole thing on YouTube. The only real difference between this CD and the YouTube version that I found anyway is the YouTube version has a little outro of local radio DJs talking, and they interview Mike Love very briefly. He just says a few words. But it's a nice little touch there at the end. Pretty cool stuff. They are engaged. The audience is happy. What could go wrong? Let's jump ahead in time a little bit and look at our last of the unofficial releases. You might recognize Beach Boys 85. Beach Boys 85, so it was 5 years between Keeping the Summer Alive and this one. This was their next studio album, though. A lot of the things released in the interim, like the hits packages, 10 Years of Harmony and Sunshine Dream, and the Rarities compilation, creatively titled Rarities, were not successful. But Beach Boys, or Beach Boys 85 as it's known, had a very successful single called Get Ya Back. And we're going to jump in to our last live album, Thinking About Get Ya Back. Here's Ringin' the Liberty Bell, live at Philadelphia, 1985. A star-studded free concert. Here's the back. Recorded live at the Ben Franklin Parkway Museum of Art, Philadelphia, PA, July the 4th, 1985. So, this one, of course, kicks off with California Girls, but then they jump right into, hey, here's our new single, Get Ya Back, and the audience really likes that. They do a lot of classic ones here. They do some Pet Sound stuff, Sloop John B. and God Only Knows. They do some oldies, you know, Little Deuce Coupe, Surfer Girl, whatnot, and then they invite all these different collaborators to come out. So they have, actually, look at the back one more time there, they have the Oak Ridge Boys, they have Jimmy Page, they have Joan Jett, John Stamos, Christopher Cross, and Mr. T too, all come out. Now, there are some unusual songs here. Jimmy Page does Lucille with them, and then jumps in on Help Me Rhonda, which Mike Love calls Stairway to Rhonda, but Lucille, of course, being a classic rock standard there. Rockin' All Over the World is done kind of as a big group affair. That was a song that John Fogerty wrote of CCR, but Carl did it live on his second album, and he did a really nice job, and the Beach Boys started doing it live around that time. Carl is on this album. He is very prominent here, so to make up for an absence on the other one, there is a surf medley at the end that Mr. T is the drummer on. They do Surfin' Safari, Surf City, and Surfin' USA. The crowd's just jumping, and everyone's having a lot of fun, I think, and unlike the last album, where it was as rushed and hurried as possible, they actually take their time and they do them really well here, I think. I could not find this in its entirety on YouTube, but you can find some of the video from the simultaneous television broadcast on there too, and you can find bits and pieces of it. This is handy because it's got it all in one place. So this is from Gossip Entertainment, and the other one is from All Access. I don't think I said that. Both labels that have some tenuous claim to release these materials. Some other interesting things here. Mike Love is pretty much unhinged. He spends a lot of time talking. He has this big intro where he introduces his girlfriend, and I believe later wife, Sharon Lee, and says, "Together we're lovely, get it? Lovely, get it?" And the audience isn't having it, but he doesn't want to accept that. He tells one of the promoters when doing the thank yous, "I'd like to kiss you, but we're both straight," which is kind of unusual humor for Mike Love, I'd say. And there's a huge, but maybe about 5-minute segment of Mike Love telling people to get down off of trees and telephone poles and other structures they were not supposed to be climbing on. And he very condescendingly tells the Philadelphians that the lines you see are filled with electricity and they will do you in if you touch them. Carl Wilson is much more encouraging, but Mike Love is, I don't know, being weird, I guess. Oh, I don't think Brian is involved in this, even though he's on the cover. I couldn't really pick him out. Jimmy Page was interviewed several years ago. He talked about this and posted pictures on his Instagram and stuff from the event. He claims Brian was there. So I don't know if he is there. They didn't make a big deal about him, or maybe he was just there to spectate or some such thing. I don't really know. Joan Jett pops up mostly for Barbara Ann. She doesn't really have a big part. But the following year, on her album Good Music, the Beach Boys would provide backing vocals for her and Darlene Love on the eponymous song there. So that's really good. Really cool stuff. Take a look at the booklet here. Mr. T gets the biggest introduction of all the guest stars, with Mike Love telling him how he is an honorary lifetime member of the Beach Boys, and he is a really cool guy, and so on, and playing up his part in Rocky III, of course. Here's the stuff there. Again, this was custom written for this CD. Nothing super interesting here, just about how the Beach Boys played at this Ben Franklin Museum, and then they had to board a plane later in the evening for Washington, D.C. to do the concert there. It was supposed to be the same set, but I guess they were so late that they had to cut their Washington set a little short. So it's a cool show. Some different tracks, some really awesome guest stars, neat stuff. Speaking of Washington, D.C. concerts, let's talk this LP. This is a legitimate release, but the Come Go With Me track from the CD I just showed you pops up on here. The rest of them, at least according to the record sleeve and the notes inside and whatnot, the rest of the performances were taken from the Washington concert that evening. So we have the Beach Boys and Ringo Starr collaborating on Back in the USSR. We'll get back to that in a second. The Oak Ridge Boys do a solo of Elvira. You have the Four Tops, Three Dog Night, America, the Bellamy Brothers, and then Julio Iglesias does Surfer Girl, and I think Brian Wilson actually sings on that one, if I remember correctly. So that's pretty neat. And then there's a Barbara Ann closer. It says Beach Boys and Jimmy Page. I don't think that's the same performance used here. It might be. They're very close. I listened to them side by side, but the intro parts are different, so I'm going to say they're perhaps different performances. Maybe, you know, this is the actual Washington, D.C. one. And also on here as kind of a hidden track is Mike Love's composition Happy Birthday America, which is just a very gentle song. It's often cited as one of the worst Beach Boys tracks ever. I don't know if it's really a Beach Boys track per se. I think it's more of a Mike track, but just talking about the beauty of America and the unity we need to have and all that, and especially in this day and age, I think that's a message that we can all maybe get behind. Here are the liner notes. This side talks about the history of the Statue of Liberty and its restoration, because apparently money used, or money gained I should say, for the concert, they didn't charge for admission, but maybe like for the concessions and merchandise and things like that, went to restoring the Statue of Liberty for the U.S.'s 205th birthday, or whatever it was. And then, or actually this would be a little bit later than that. The other CD was the 205th birthday, excuse me. And then this side here is Mike Love writing a little passage about the Love Foundation for American Music, Art, and Entertainment, and how it's all about raising awareness for the arts and being part of different things and so on. It's interesting. A little heavy-handed. Now, real quick, last thing for today. I mentioned that Ringo played back in the USSR. It says Ringo Starr with the Beach Boys. When I've looked at articles from July 1985, I found a lot that involved James Watt, one of Reagan's cabinet members, who argued that the Beach Boys attracted the wrong crowd and shouldn't be allowed to play it in Washington, D.C., and so on and so forth. There's a lot about that, and if you watch the documentary America's Band, they play clips of people protesting outside buildings and stuff with Beach Boys picket signs and everything like that, so that's pretty funny. But when I looked at actual articles, none of them mentioned Ringo, which I thought was kind of strange. I think that performance might be taken from a different Washington, D.C. July 4th concert. I know they did them each year, often with different stars and different headliners, so maybe Ringo's was like the previous year and they stuck it on here just to help sell the album, because it's the first track on there and it says, you know, big letters, Ringo Starr and the Beach Boys, so I don't know. Ringo did several gigs with the Beach Boys. He even continues to do gigs with them now. And so they did Farm Aid and whatnot. Something that's interesting here, most of you know the White Album. This was my dad's copy that he bought back in 1968. And the thing about the White Album is that Ringo didn't actually drum on back in the USSR. He was not part of the Beatles at that time. He had temporarily left. So I don't quite know why he'd be so willing to drum on that song. I'm assuming because of Mike Love's connection to it and the Beach Boys' connection to it, it was just part of the set. So it was, hey, drum on that, or, you know, don't play. We all know, of course, something I had to mention. Ringo was much too busy being the narrator for the best children's show ever at the time, just saying. And he did some studio work with the Beach Boys in 1985. He is heard drumming on California Calling on their Beach Boys '85 album. And that is the song that my little phony baloney at the beginning of the show here that I was doing for you as a gag. So there you go. Thanks so much for watching this video, and also for watching my Sounds of Summer videos. We have now gone through the 5 major gray area releases, the ones that you may or may not be able to find for your collection. But at one time Amazon sold them, but they still do, I couldn't say. If you missed one of the videos, feel free to go back and take a look at it. If you have any thoughts on the Beach Boys 1980s performances, please don't keep them to yourself. Please drop them in the comments below. I'd love to read them, love to hear your thoughts about them. Next time, we'll talk about Sounds of Summer on CD, and we'll also talk about the Target exclusive edition. So stay tuned for that. My Sounds of Summer videos are the top 2 videos on my channel, and have more views than I ever thought I could get, so I appreciate that so much. Please do leave comments on them too. Come back every week for more stuff. I love having you here. Until next time, my friends, have a very good 4th of July. Even if you're not American, still have a good 4th of July. And until next time, go out there and catch a wave. Thank you.